Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, yeah, I got everything on. Good morning. So let's get started. So before I get started, I want to make sure anybody who's watching this live or anybody who's watching a replay, make sure you drop in the comments where you're from. If you have a small business, make sure that you drop your website link, your what else? Your Facebook link, anything in reference to your business, because you never know who might be in the comments and who might see your product or service. So today's tax talk is about refund delays. And we're talking to the people who might possibly not have a refund date just yet. And you're trying to figure out why. So we already know that tomorrow is the official date for the first batch of big refunds for people who was affected by the PATH Act. So some people have already got their money. Some people will get their money on tomorrow. But understand this. If the IRS website said the 22nd, that is the date your money is supposed to be deposited. Now, I have seen where, you have different banks. A lot of them are like prepaid type banks. I don't know. Online banks like, I don't know, Chime, different ones like that. That it seems like they might have deposited refunds earlier, or I say fronted your refund earlier. So you might have already received your deposit. But that does not mean that your money is not coming this week, because a lot of people are getting paranoid because they're seeing other people get their money. The date for the official first batch is tomorrow. Okay, so if you have not got your money yet and your date said the 22nd, then your money should possibly be deposited tomorrow. We probably get check printing authorization tonight. I've seen where other tax product banks, they might release their deposit earlier. So every bank is different. That means your bank, whoever you bank with, and every tax product bank that we use, they're all different. But the official date is the 22nd. So if your date said the 22nd, don't be sweating too much. You should receive your money between today and tomorrow. I doubt the 23rd. It should be today and tomorrow. So just get that out the way for those people. Now, for people who do not have a date just yet, don't get weary so quick. So everybody was not going to get a date for the first batch. That's not how the IRS hey, don't Miss Milton. I was gonna say your name, I can't pronounce it. But everybody's not going to get a date. Was not going to get the first batch date. That's not how the IRS works. And just because your refund went out in January do not mean that you was going to get the first date for the PATH Act. So what happens is the PATH Act is lifted on February the 15th. And from that date, everybody who was affected by that, the IRS has 21 days to give you a date. Unless your refund or return rather is flagged for a specific reason. They have 21 days to give you a date. So a lot of you will be getting dates for this upcoming week, well, next week. So don't get too weary. And if you don't get a date this week, then you possibly might get a date the following week. But they do have 21 days from the 15th to release a date. Now, you also should know that the IRS system is kind of flawed. Like, they have a lot of glitches in their system. And sometimes their system is not working. So, it don't update the way you think it updates. And also, it do be, again, have glitches. So, you might see one thing on your where's my refund one day, and then the next day it's saying something else. It doesn't mean that anything is going on with your return. It just might mean that something that is going on with the IRS system. It's not always about your return. It could just be the IRS system. But there are some reasons why you possibly will not get your refund in the next 21 days. So the most popular reason is ID verification. So I think we talked about it a little bit last week, but ID verification is very real. And the IRS is selecting a lot of people for ID verification. Now, an ID verification could have been triggered based off what was on your tax return. So, if you had significant changes in your tax return, whether it was a name change, whether it was an address change, whether you added a dependent, took some dependents off, all those different types of things like that, that can trigger an ID verification. Or the IRS can randomly select you for an ID verification. Now, with the ID verification, Where's My Refund is telling you that you got to do an ID verification. And if you click on start, I need to start having some water right here. If you click on start, then it will take you to ID me for you to sign in. Okay. Good morning, Miss Clara. You're welcome, Angela. It will take you to ID verification. ID me for you to sign in. At that time, when you do that, then it's going to reference a letter number, okay? You possibly do not have the letter yet. So it's going to tell you you're going to have to wait for the letter. So you're going to have to wait for the letter to finish doing your ID verification. But in some cases, for some clients, they didn't have to wait for the letter. Some of my clients, they did ID me, they signed in, it told them to put the letter number in, and when they put the letter number in, a couple of days later, their return went back to processing. And so they might not have to do the ID verification, or they might do. I'm going to check somebody that I know that happens to today when I get in the office to see what their Where's My Refund is saying now. But ultimately, you might just go ahead and get your refund because you signed into ID me, because ID me is you verifying your ID. Now, mind you, that might not happen to everyone. Some of you might have to wait for the letter and then have to go back in and do the ID verification. But at the end of the day, you cannot surpass the ID verification. If your return was selected for ID verification, you're going to have to go through the process. And right now, we do not know how long it's going to take after you do ID verification for you to get a date. It can take a week. It can take 2 weeks. It can take 3 weeks. It can take a month. Right now, because we're just experiencing some of it, nobody really knows how long it's going to take. Hopefully, it won't take that long once you do your verification, but it is going to be a process. It's not going to be like you filed your tax returns and now you have time, and that they're going to just automatically release your tax return or refund. That's not how it's going to work. And there's no way to speed that process up. So if you get selected for ID verification, you just got to go through the process. And hopefully, if you do get selected and you do ID me, maybe they will release the refund instead of you having to wait for the letter. But nobody don't know, right? Nobody really don't know what that process is like. Other reasons why your refund could be on hold for a lot of you all is wage and dependent verification. So wage verification means that you have a wage document on your tax return where it doesn't match what's in the IRS system. Now, a lot of times when that takes place, you're either going to have to turn in the document to verify the wages, or you might end up doing a amended tax return. Okay. Good morning, Jacqueline. Thank you, Renee, for the stars. So you might have to submit your wage documentations to them for them to verify your wage documents. In some cases, the wage documents actually is the exact thing, but because the IRS wants to verify, they just want to verify. And in some cases, y'all know y'all filed those taxes with leaving documents off, wage documents off, and you was filing with last paycheck stuff. So yes, you can get selected for wage verification, and you don't have the right information in your return. That's really going to delay your return. So if you got some stuff like that going on, that will delay your return. Okay. Then dependent verification, that's kind of like a semi-audit. Okay. So that means that you have to verify the dependents that's on your tax return, probably based off EIC, child tax credit. A lot of times they don't do daycare right off the bat, but most of the time it's EIC and child tax credit. If you have to do dependent verification for those dependents, what you're going to have to submit is showing that the dependent live with you over 6 months out the year. You're going to have to submit that their relationship to you. Those are the two most important things that you're going to have to verify. Okay, and if you file head of household, you're gonna have to show that you provided support for a home for over 6 months out the year. So that's dependent verification. And I can tell y'all this: dependent verification takes a while. Okay, I think the time has been cut down because now you don't necessarily have to do everything in the mail. The IRS website has a upload document link now, so a lot of information that you have to turn into them now can either be submitted through your account or through the document upload. So the time is lesser, right, than it has been in the past, but it's still a time frame. Okay. Now let me tell you this: if you're selected for wage verification, dependent verification, or if the IRS tell you have an error on your return, or that they don't see anything but you was flagged and your return has to be manually reviewed, it's gonna be a second. Okay. Why? Because the IRS, a person has to manually review your return and release it for you to get a refund. That's why it takes so long. Usually when you're filing your taxes is going through a computer system. If your return don't get flagged, then it goes through the system in, I guess, whatever order it was received as far as the time they're going to process it. That's why you can have some people where they get their refunds and within 3 days, and some people it might take 21 days. But it goes through a computerized system. Then you have the returns that get flagged. The returns that get flagged, that means that someone manually, a person, has to review your tax return for whatever you was flagged for. And then once they review your tax return, then if they say that everything is okay, then they release your refund. That's how it works. That's why it takes so long, because an actual person has to look at it. And we know that the IRS has hired a lot of people in the last couple of years, so I don't know if it's going to take as long as it used to, but that's the reason why it takes longer than usual. That's why when you call the IRS over and over and over again, they don't necessarily have any updates for you, because your return is waiting for somebody to manually review it. And I have to tell y'all this: some returns just get flagged. Now, the IRS is going to tell you that it's an error on your return, and it's absolutely nothing wrong with your return. You just got flagged. And because you got flagged, they have to manually review it. A lot of times, this is the crazy part, a lot of times the people that are doing that fraudulent stuff, this stuff might go right through, don't get flagged, they get their money. And people who don't have nothing but a W-2, they don't have no dependents, they don't have anything, they'll get flagged, and then the IRS says an error on there. That's kind of how it kind of works. So hopefully, if you don't have a date, you'll get a date soon. Hopefully you're not flagged for, any of the things I mentioned. Now, the other thing is two other things rather. One other thing is the tax offsets. So you might go to the IRS website and it says that your refund might be reduced, partially took, or some type of verbiage like that, and they're not telling you how much they're going to take, and you thinking they're going to take your whole refund, which they could. So your refund is not necessarily delayed because you have an offset. If they giving you a date and then they just tell you that your refund was reduced, you still gonna get your money on that date. It just depends on how much you owe in that particular debt, how much money you're gonna get. So for instance, okay, if you owe the state, which a lot of you do, a lot of you have state balances every year and you never pay them. Okay. So every year you're going to get that message. And the reason why you're going to get that message is because you owe the state. It's a government agency. They're going to take their money. It don't matter if you owe them $10, you will still get that message. And they will take their debt and then they will release the remainder. Okay, so if you owe child support, they're going to take your money. If you got a credit card through the government, like, I know they used to have like star cards for people who was in the military and different things like that, and you did not pay your card and your card is in default, they're going to take your tax refund. If you owe student loans, they will take your tax refund. But let me tell y'all about student loans. I said in some other videos, but I'll tell y'all again, just in case this is the only video you ever watched. If your if your student loans was on pause the last 3 years due to the COVID, right? Then most of you all are in ramp period. Nobody's talking about that. It's called in ramp period. So the in ramp period is that the student loan people will not take your tax refund, okay, if you was on pause, if you go in default, or maybe your payment arrangements, you haven't met your payment arrangements, that student loan will not take your refund. Why? Because you're in ramp period. That's something that they put into place until September of this year. Now, if your student loans was like through a third party lender, and you wasn't on pause the last 3 years, yes, they can take your not your tax refund. Yes, they can take your tax refund for your student loans. So it just depends on where your student loans are, who have them, and what status you are in. But if you are in the en route period, they will not take your tax refund. A lot of tax pros don't know that. They just telling people it's too long gonna take their money, and that's not true. Okay. Now, the last thing is if you're doing those fraudulent credits. Y'all know what those fraudulent credits is. That's the fuel credit, the residential energy credits. It's a whole lot of different credits that a lot of tax pros and people who be doing your taxes through TurboTax, y'all let people do y'all taxes through TurboTax. We call them ghost preparers. And you getting like, somebody else told you getting like $20,000, $30,000, $39,000 in a tax refund. The IRS is flagging those returns. Okay, they are flagging those returns. Now understand this. The IRS is a computerized system. That means that somebody can send their return through, have those credits on it, and it can go through the IRS system, and they get their money, and they never get audited. That's how the IRS kind of work. But the IRS set up filters to try to catch as many of those tax returns as possible, especially this year. A lot of people went through last year and got their money, but a lot of people did get flagged. Even more people are going to get flagged this year. Now, the crazy part about it is this. The IRS is not playing with all this fraudulent stuff that everybody's been doing. They are getting way stricter, not only on you all, but us as tax pros. A lot of y'all tax pros don't got audited by the IRS just like you, or they don't got flagged. And when we get flagged, our money that we got to pay them back is way more money than you got to pay back. That's why your tax pros are being more stricter with what they require from you so that they don't get fined. I just need to throw that in there, okay? Because they can get fined and selected for audit as well. But because the IRS is, again, tightening up on so much fraud, that they are sending letters out to taxpayers who have those credits on their taxes for them to fix the tax return or face a $5,000 fine. And just because you haven't got a letter yet does not mean you're not going to get one. So those are for people who did them last year and people who are trying to currently do them again this year. You could possibly get a letter where the IRS is sending you and about to fine you $5,000 because you attempted to fraud the system. They are not playing. And for my people who allow people to do ERCs on you as well, which I don't talk about none of this stuff that much, then yes, they are sending letters to people wanting their money back and fining you for doing all this fraudulent stuff. But they was being nice. They gave y'all opportunities beforehand to amend your return and for you to withdraw your ERC file. If you haven't did that, that's something you might want to do. So it's a lot of things going on out here. I see where a lot of people might have tried to get 2 advances and the different banks are cross-referencing, you know, who gave who what money first. But the other thing that a lot of tax pros not talking about too is this. So a lot of people did ID verification last year. And a lot of y'all who did ID verifications last year, you might got your check in the mail. And when you got your check in the mail, you didn't have to pay that loan back, nor did you have to end up paying your tax preparer their fees, because our fees usually come out of your tax refund if you don't pay out of pocket. So a lot of y'all got away with not having to pay that advance back and not paying your tax pros. But guess what? When you file your taxes this year, a lot of y'all so slow that you forgot you didn't pay that advance and you think they forgot about it. No, they're tagging you and taking their money back for not people going to someone else this year, but for all those ones who did not pay their loan last year. So you don't got a loan this year and you didn't pay your loan last year. So what you think your money, what you think they're going to do with your money? They're getting their money. So don't think that you could just get over like all the time. Like, it will come back to hunt you, or it will come back to bite you in the booty. Okay? So hopefully I gave you all some good insight in reference to like what's kind of going on with your tax refunds if you have not received them, and if you receive any of the messages that I talked about in this video. Now, I'm not a transcript girl. I keep telling y'all that. Like, I do know how to read a transcript. I do know some of the codes on the transcript. But I'm not one to focus on transcripts. If you inbox me, whether it's my personal inbox or my business inbox, talking about a transcript, even if I did your taxes, I'm not answering those questions. Like, I'm not answering those questions. Like, the transcript got to do with the IRS. It don't have nothing to do with me and the part that I did in preparing your tax return. If you want for me, if I did your tax and you want for me to break it down to you, then you can schedule a time and then we'll break it down like what it says so you can have a better understanding, because I'm really My mission is ultimately to educate you, but just because you're trying to figure out where your refund at, and you're trying to play Inspector Gadget, we don't have time to just go down everybody's transcript and go over your transcript with you. It's still people that got to get their taxes done, and that's not fair to them. Now, T, you're going to have to do a rewind on this video because I talked about too much in the video. But a small recap is what I talked about in the video is how ID verification works. I talked about how wage and dependent verification work if you get selected for that. I talked about the IRS having 21 days to be able to process your return from February the 15th if you was affected by the PATH Act. And I talked about how offsets, like if you owe someone, and I talked about different errors that the IRS will say that you have on your return. All of these things are in reference to why you might not have received a date yet, or why you haven't received your refund yet when your date was the 22nd. Okay. So, I'm trying to think about anything else because there's a lot I could talk about. But I think for this video, that might be it. It's a lot of people that need to see this video. So make sure y'all share it out. Make sure you tag people who is a little confused, because sometimes people just need some reassurance when it comes to their taxes. So tag them in the comments. If you need your taxes done or would like your taxes done with me or anyone on my team, and you live in a different state, or you don't have time to come in our office and you live in a city that we have an office in, you can submit your information online at www.experttaxservices.com. And as you can see, expert is spelled with the X and not an E. Now, let me talk to my people who submit the information online. You have to submit all your documents. Okay, and then once we interview you and we realize you need more documents, then that's fine that you got to go, submit some more documents. But if you don't answer your phone when we call you, or you don't answer your text when we text you, then it's not our fault that it's taking a little longer for your return to get done. In order for us to do your return, we have to have all the proper documents, and we got to be able to communicate with you in reference to making sure we're asking you additional questions to make sure that we're going over your actual refund, or if you got a balance, because everybody's not getting a refund. So if you have a balance, like what that look like, if you're going to pay out of pocket or you're going to have your fees taken out, like we have to communicate with y'all. And y'all be submitting y'all information, and it'll be 2 weeks later, and then y'all sending us emails telling us, oh, I sent my stuff in, I haven't heard from you. Yeah, because one thing that we do at our office is I document every time we call you, and I document when we text you, because the text is in our software. And so we always have proof of us contacting you. You just got to answer your phone. I know those spammers be calling us to death, so a lot of people don't answer their phone. But if you know you submitted your documents somewhere to get your taxes completed, you should be answering your phone within those 2-3 days after you submit your information, because you don't know if those people have called you. But not only that, you should call them to see what the status of your tax refund or your tax return. And my sister in the comments talking about, and check your spelling. Okay, check your spelling. Check your when you put your account numbers in, double check your account numbers, because a lot of y'all are submitting information online and y'all are putting in the wrong information. Then y'all blaming us. So y'all just move a little too fast. Don't move too fast. Make sure the information that you're inputting is accurate, so that we have less information that's incorrect, because we have to type information in too, and us typing in information, you typing in information can lead to a whole lot of errors. Okay. So again, make sure y'all share the video out, tag somebody. I'll talk to y'all next week. And for my people who getting their money tomorrow, congrats. I'm glad y'all getting y'all money tomorrow. Don't let nobody tell y'all how to spend y'all money. Spend y'all money how y'all want to spend y'all money. You know, I could be an advocate for finances and be like, you know, invest your money. You know that stuff they be telling y'all. But if you don't want to invest, that's your business, okay? It's your money. Do what you want to do with it, okay? But don't be mad later when it's gone. Bye, y'all.